When I buy stocks, I am buying shares. I can hold them for as long as I want, or I can sell them whenever I want. It's mine. But when I'm buying options, I'm not directly buying the shares. I am buying a contract that says I have the right to these shares. Let me explain. Quick disclaimer, this is for educational purposes only, and this is not financial advice. So let's say I'm buying your house and we agree on a price of $500,000. So to lock in that price, we make a contract that gives me the right to buy your house at $500,000. And to show that I'm serious, I give you a deposit. In real estate, we call it an earnest money deposit. And let's say we agree on 1%, which comes out to $5,000. So for whatever reason, if I choose not to buy your house at no fault to you, you get to keep the $5,000. I walk away empty-handed, and you're free to do whatever you want with your house again. But for as long as this contract is valid, I have the right to buy your house. I don't own the house yet. I don't have to end up buying it. But for the $5,000 and a handshake, I have the option to buy your house, no one else. Or let's say I want to pre-order the new iPhone, so I put down $100 to reserve one. I don't own the iPhone yet, but because the store let me pay $100 to reserve it, I am now guaranteed that iPhone at retail price. Again, I don't have to end up buying it. I'm only paying a small deposit to reserve one. With options, it works the same way. But here, this agreement is known as a call. So whenever I'm buying a call, here I paid the homeowner an earnest money deposit to lock in the house. Here I paid the store a pre-order deposit to reserve an iPhone. And here I pay what's called a premium to reserve shares of stock at a set price. Again, I don't have to end up buying it, but I am guaranteed those shares by the seller in case I want them later. Now, why would I want to do that instead of just buying the stock straight up? Well, let's say I want to buy 100 shares of JRY at its current price of $200 per share. In the stock market, I just need to pay a seller $20,000, and in return, I receive 100 shares of JRY. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Now, if I want to do the same thing in the options market, we don't deal with shares. Here we deal with contracts. And one contract equals to 100 shares, at least here in the US. I know some countries are different. So if I'm not in the US, I would make sure to look that up. So to get the same 100 shares, here I would need to buy one call. And all I'm paying for it is the premium, which is the current value of a contract. And let's say this one is going for $5. And because one contract equals to 100 shares, the total cost to me comes out to $500. So now in the stock market, I own 100 shares. And in the options market, I have one contract, which gives me the right, not the ownership yet, just the right to buy 100 shares at $200. So let's see what happens if JRY's price pops to $250. Well, my stock position, my 100 shares are now worth $250 a share. So I can sell them back into the market for $25,000, netting me a $5,000 profit. My options position, the value of my call goes up to $50. Why? Because now that the price is at $250 and I have a contract that says I can buy for $200, it has $50 of intrinsic value, which simply means I can easily use the contract to buy the 100 shares I reserved at $200 and sell them back into the open market right now for $250, which would play out exactly the same as my stock position. Now, fortunately, the options market is liquid enough so I can skip all that if I want and just sell the contract itself to someone else, which nets me $4,500 since I have to deduct the $500 I originally paid to buy the call. So the first thing I notice is leverage. With stocks, I had to use $20,000 of my money to make $5,000, which comes out to a 25% return. With options, not only did I use $500 to make about the same, but check out the return on my money. It's much higher at 900%. So this is what makes options so sexy. I don't need a lot of capital to participate in the market, and I can still get amazing returns. Imagine if I did 10 contracts instead of one. That would give me control over 1,000 shares with just using $5,000, which would net me a $45,000 profit, while with stocks, I would need $200,000 to do the same. So leverage is a huge advantage when trading options. But wait, let's go back in time and see what happens if the price drops from $200 to $150 instead. Well, my stock position, my 100 shares is now worth $150 a piece, so I would be down $5,000. But with my options position, my risk is only the premium I paid for the contract. Because remember, it's my right, my choice to buy those shares or not. I don't have to. I can't be forced to buy your house. I can't be forced to buy the iPhone. I simply have the right to buy it or not. I may lose the deposit if I don't, but that is my choice. So if the price drops to 150, then who gives a fuck if I have a contract that says I can buy it for 200? Because everyone and their grandmothers can easily go into the market right now and get it for $50 cheaper. So the second thing I notice is my risk. In my stock position, my risk is the whole 20,000 because there's always a chance the price can go to zero. No matter how unlikely that may be, with stocks, my risk exposure is always the full investment. But when buying options, even if my stock goes to zero, I can only lose on the premium I paid. In this case, just $500. So with buying options, I need less capital, I get higher returns, and have less risk. So what's the catch? Well, the big one is that option contracts expire. Just like any other contracts out there, right? Think about it. If contracts never expired, the buyer would have all the power. Here I can just wait as long as I want until the value of the home goes way up before buying and easily pocket the difference. While you, the seller, would have the home tied up for who knows how long and would be taking on all the risk of the value dropping. It wouldn't make any sense. But for $5,000, how about you give me 30 days of time? Well, now you feel more comfortable with this deal because even if I back out in 30 days, you have full control of your house again and you made $5,000 just for agreeing to sell your house to me. So the one big disadvantage is time. With buying stocks, even if the price stalls at 200, I have all the time in the world to wait on it. Whereas with buying options, my contract can expire worthless before it goes. So not only do I have to get the direction right, but I also need to be right before that expiration date. But I actually don't mind that they expire because guess what? I can sell them too. So when buying a call, I'm paying for the right to buy a stock at a set price, which means the seller is getting paid for a guarantee to sell it at that set price. Think of it like an insurance company. If you pay me a monthly premium for car insurance, what happens if you get into an accident? Well, I have an obligation to cover the damages on your car. I don't have a choice like the buyer does. You paid me a premium, so now I have to deliver on my end, right? This seller must sell the house if the buyer ends up wanting it. The seller doesn't have an option. There's no backing out. Even if the home value goes up to $1 million, the seller must sell it at the agreed price of $500,000. The store guaranteed an iPhone, so when the time comes, they must hand over an iPhone. Same with call options. So let's check out what happens when I sell a call. So same trade, but now as the seller, I get to collect the $5 premium. So in a click of a button, $500 literally comes into my account. Easiest $500 I made, right? But wait, now I am obligated to sell 100 shares of JRY at $200. And let's say this contract is good for the next 30 days. So that means I'm bearish on JRY and I'm rooting for the stock to be under $200 by expiration. Because then the buyer side of the contract will expire worthless and I get to keep the $500. But what if the price pops instead? Well, then no matter how much I don't want to, I have to go into the market and buy the 100 shares at its current value of $250 and immediately sell them to this buyer for $200 because I made that guarantee. Again, options are transferable, so I can skip all that and just buy back the contract itself at a loss. But notice that selling a call on its own is one of the riskiest things I can do. Because in theory, the stock price can go to infinity, so my risk is infinite. But if you think about it, it's really no different than shorting a stock. I do it all the time. But here, look at my reward. The most I can make is the premium I received, which is $500. So why would I ever want to sell a call? Well, let's see what happens when I pair this with other positions. Going back to my stock position, here I already own 100 shares of JRY from $200 and it popped to $250. But instead of just selling my shares and taking profit, why not get paid to do it? So instead, by selling a call at $250, what I'm doing is I'm guaranteeing to sell 100 shares at $250, which I was going to do anyway. But here I get to collect a premium, an extra $500 to do so, which now nets me $5,500. Or if I feel JRY's price will have a short-term dip and I don't want to get out because maybe I like the dividends it pays out or it's a long-term investment, well then I can sell calls on the way down and still bring in income while keeping my long position. So now it starts getting interesting, right? And this is why I believe it's vital for me as a trader and investor to understand how to use options because there's a lot of cool strategies I can do to put more money in my pocket. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of our time, uses options. And one of his most famous trades was selling put options on Coca-Cola. So just like how with stocks, I can go long and short, with options, it's calls and puts. So in a call, I know the buyer has the right to buy and the seller is guaranteeing to sell. In a put, it's just the opposite. The buyer has the right to sell and the seller is guaranteeing to buy. And the selling side is the one that always gets to collect the premium. So check out what Warren did. Coca-Cola was trading around $39 per share at the time, and Warren thought it'd be a great buy if it ever got down to $35. But instead of waiting for it to get there, Warren decided to sell put options at $35, which means he is guaranteeing to buy Coca-Cola at $35 per share. So he ended up selling 50,000 put options, which equals to 5 million shares, for a $1.50 premium. So he got paid $7.5 million to guarantee to buy Coca-Cola at $35, which is something he was planning to do anyway. How would you like to get paid $7.5 million to do something that you were going to do anyway? And he can use that $7.5 million to help purchase those shares at $35, right? Genius. Now, one last thing, let's quickly look at why I would want to buy a put option. So if I buy a put, that means I want the right or the option to sell a stock. And let's say I own 100 shares of Coca-Cola at $39. I see that they're reporting earnings and I don't have a good feeling about it. And because I'm no Warren Buffett, I think if it drops below 35, I want to get the fuck out. So I buy a put option at 35 for $1.50, costing me $150. Next day, earnings come out, it's not good, and Coca-Cola drops to $30. Well, good thing I bought that put, because now I have the right to sell at 35, so I'm going to use my contract to take my $4 loss instead of the $9. So this gives me a more defined risk. I can't lose anything under $35. And if it gaps up, then my contract would become worthless. But hey, it only cost me $150 to have a better sleep at night knowing I'm protected. So really, there's only 4 things I can do in the options market. I can buy and sell calls, and I can buy and sell puts. And this may take a couple of rewatches before getting it down, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more to it, like how the Greeks affect the premiums on these options. But the point of this video is to just introduce the concept and help understand how this all works and shine light to what I think is super valuable to traders and investors like myself. If you made it to the end, I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see more options content. If so, we can definitely go deeper down the rabbit hole. Let me know if you have any questions. As always, I appreciate you for being here, and I hope to see you on the next one.